Tonight on Joy News Prime, government ropes in the country's traditional leaders in the fight against COVID-19. It comes even as the country records 176 new cases amid concerns observance of the preventive protocols is rather dampened. Inspector General of Police vows no foreigners will be allowed to vote in the upcoming election this December. Demonstrators at AKYEM demand a retraction and apology from NDC flag bearer and former President John Mahama for apparent endorsement of comments they say is derogatory. Also in this bulletin, President Akufo-Addo responds to NDC flag bearer John Mahama's reference to his advanced age. And also challenging claims by former president that the administration has nothing to show for the excessive borrowing it has engaged in since it assumed power. And in business, marginal drop in food prices account for a slight decline in August inflation from 11.4 to 10.5%. We have details shortly.
It was 1.1%, and that was what essentially drove the month-on-month overall inflation of minus 0.4%.
In this bulletin, a woman whose plight was highlighted by Joy News having lost her construction job as a result of the COVID-19 lockdown has seen a turnaround in her life and is saying thank you to her benefactors. My name is Aisha Ibrahim. The news is coming to you live from our studios in Kokomlemle here in Accra on your digital terrestrial TV, because we are free to air on DSTV channel 421 and GoTV channel 144. Thanks for choosing us. Now, very first story, government is appealing to traditional leaders to play key roles in the community engagement and risk education strategy to help win the fight against the spread of the coronavirus. The chiefs and queen mothers are expected to use their revered office to lead the community engagement to ensure the sustenance of education and the adherence to COVID-19 safety protocols. Appreciating the partnership of the chiefs in the National Development Agenda at a day's workshop with members of the Buno-Ahafo Regional House of Chiefs in Sonyan, Chief Director of the Ministry of Information, Mamle Andrew, says a concerted effort from all stakeholders will lead to a return to our normal lives and boost socio-economic development. There is more in this report.
Ghana is not out of the shackles of the coronavirus pandemic yet, though active cases have reduced drastically. There has been a surge in some part of the world where safety protocols were almost abandoned. Sadly, disregard to the COVID-19 safety protocols is a common sight everywhere in the country, a situation government believes traditional leaders can play vital roles in the government's community engagement and risk education strategy to sustain and improve gains in the COVID-19 fight. Mamle Andrews, Chief Director of the Ministry of Information, addressed the Buno-Ahafo Regional House of Chiefs in Sunyani.
So our purpose here is to respectfully request you, as our revered traditional leaders, you are the ones whom your subjects always listen to. We hold your words in high esteem to enable us achieve the objective for which we are embarking on community engagement, and which is to ensure that the general public, every Ghanaian, will understand what this whole pandemic is about, and also help us put them in a better position to sustain the safety protocols and observe the safety protocols that have been put in place. One of the other goals for the strategies that we have laid out is to ensure that socioeconomic development is not disrupted. Indeed, the pandemic has hit us in so many ways so that we can have our way of life restored back to normalcy.
Meanwhile, Vice President of the Brong-Ahafo Regional House of Chiefs and Paramount Chief of Junim Traditional Area, Nana Bofubini IV, told Joy News there will be better results if government will give chiefs clear-cut powers in the COVID-19 fight.
Traditionally, and in time past, when there is a pandemic, we summon all the people to clean, to sweep around every place. Nobody will talk. Now some of our responsibilities are given to the assemblies, the unity committees, for them to execute some of these policies without necessarily informing an animal. But when we are giving the powers like what we have just said, Nananum are to do this, Nananum are to do that, we have the backing of the government. So when we say that, it will work better than what the assemblies are doing. I think the fight for this COVID-19 and other things will be well attended to, better than the assembly.
For Joy News, Precious Semevo, Sunyani.
In the Western region, community of Apewosika, children who would ordinarily be in school are spending their day roaming along the coast because of the closure of schools. Correspondent Natalia Kwanzaa has today's COVID-19 impact story.
There's a boy whose mother was sick, and the mother was in the house. The child was given a breakfast in the morning. The child decided going to the grandmother. So the mother thought that would be safe. The child went to grandmother. Unfortunately, he could not meet the grandmother. The grandmother had then traveled. The boy then followed friends to the seashore. And the new civil defense wall and the harbor that is being built in EXIMBANK, the children went as far as to that area. And one of them, that boy in particular, fell into the sea. Nobody saw him. The children, the rest of the children ran.
Seashores and schools have at least one goal in common. The shore keeps the sea at bay, and the school keeps children from loitering about. But with coronavirus pandemic resulting in schools closure, children have regained freedom to roam wild, playing catch me if you can with frustrated parents.
Everywhere they should take care of the children, because I'm saying this because children will be playing, they might be going somewhere, it's dangerous. For me, I believe if the school is open, it's even better.
I visited the coastal area of Apewosika and encountered several children of school-going age making daily decisions on how to spend their time. Spoiler alert, not many ventures were commendable.
The situation is very bad. You should have gone to school this year. There is a pandemic called coronavirus. It has taken over the world.
Now, what's it if you why there won't be a
and we've been asked not to go into the public. So I'm here to play. I am now a carpenter at the fishing shore. I carry the woods and nail it. Since the closure of schools, I have decided to learn a trade so I can make some money. The students are not going to school. That's why I organize football competition for them.
Until school reopens, parents will live along the coastal communities will continue to live in fear of recording death as children continue to play along the seashore as they await reopening of the next academic year. In Natalia Kwanzaa, Joy News, Apewosika.
176 new cases reported September 5 have taken the COVID-19 case count in Ghana to 45,188. 44,042 persons have recovered or being discharged, with 283 deaths. The active cases are now at 863. The new cases being tested on 868 samples have a positivity rate of 20.27%. We're still live on Joy News Prime. We take a break. We'll be back with more. 12 luxury vehicles have been destroyed in a fire at an auto repair shop at Agric Kokode in Kumasi Tuesday night. The vehicles, mainly high-end SUVs, which were recently imported into the country, had minor defects that were being fixed. According to eyewitnesses, the fire spread from a heap of refuse that was set ablaze. Nana Ojima visited the scene and has filed this report.
Unfortunately for the artisans yesterday, the fire spread from this point through the shop dedicated to luxury vehicles in this enclave. And as you can see, most vehicles are burnt.
Entry. My name is Richard Entry and I'm a sprayer here. Some children burn refuse behind the shop and we have warned them to stop. They wouldn't, and we wouldn't force them because they gave us this place.
Master Seidu's shop is one of the mechanic shops noted for fixing salvaged cars, especially luxury vehicles in Kumasi. Latest brands of Toyota Highlander, Jeep, Nissan Patrol, among others, were completely destroyed. Mr. Entry narrates how they managed to save a 2020 Range Rover from the raging fire.
We had to adopt all means to remove some of the vehicles. We toppled over the Range Rover repeatedly till we took it to safety. When the fire service got here, the vehicles were completely destroyed. Their valves couldn't pump the water too, so they had to call in another one.
This car dealer, who wants to remain anonymous, has lost thousands of cedis.
As I'm talking to you right now, I have so much car in the port I need to clear. I'm going to use this money to clear the cars in the port. Now all these cars being burned, so how I'm going to get money to take that cars from the port?
For Joy News, Nana Ojima reporting.
The Inspector General of Police, James Opon-Bueno, has stated the police service will take every step necessary within its authority to prevent foreigners and other ineligible persons from voting in the upcoming general elections. The IGP says the service is working closely in collaboration with other security agencies mandated to ensure the safety of the country's regional borders and assured the police's readiness to protect and guard this year's election from any kind of external meddling. Mr. Opon-Bueno was speaking in the Northeast Regional Capital, Nalerugu, where he paid a working visit to assess the readiness of his men towards the 2020 elections. He says he was confident in his men to ensure peace and order before, during, and after the election. Correspondent Elias Tanko was there and has filed this report.
You know, once a person is not a Ghanaian, under no circumstance should he be allowed or she be allowed to participate in our national affairs. So there are organizations, there are security services that are specifically responsible, like the immigration, like the customs, who are responsible for the border patrols and things like that. But when it comes to the police, we assist in whatever offenses that are brought to us, or if the offenses are brought to us, our knowledge, we will arrest the people and take them to the appropriate authority or take the appropriate action against them. So as far as the 2020 elections are concerned, I am of the view that we'll be able to police the nation together with all the security organizations. We'll police the nation in such a way that people who are not Ghanaians will not be allowed to vote.
The IGP's first point of visit was at the Nairi, where he paid a courtesy call on the overlord of the Mampurgu traditional area, Ndumana Bohagu Abdullahi Mahami Sheriga, and his elders. His delegation included Director of Public Affairs, Mrs. Sheila Kesia Beye Bachman, Director of General Services, Mr. George Mensah, Director General of National Operations, DCOP Mr. Buodu Pepra, Chief Staff Officer, ACP Joseph Owusu-Ansah, and others, including the Regional Police Commander. At the palace, the overlord welcomed the police chief and his delegation and started his address by praising the professionalism and hard work of the police force in the region. He, however, complained about rampant robbery attacks in the region and urged the IGP to step up efforts to end the menace.
Honor your best and get rid of them.
He has been supporting them and he will continue to support them. And those that will err, as you have said, he will let you know about it, so that the necessary disciplinary actions or body corrections can be done, so that there is peace in the area. And also, as you are saying, during this election time, he's asking that your officers should be very vigilant. They should make sure that those who want to ferment troubles are taken care of.
In response, the IGP promised to ensure peace and safety of all residents in the area.
So we sent some more men on the roads. So if you realize, in the past 2 months to 2.5 months, those things have gone down considerably. So I can assure my own father, the Nairi, that we will not rest on our own. Whatever we do, what we have to do to make sure that he has peace in his kingdom.
The regional minister, Solomon Boa, expressed satisfaction with the work of the police service in the region and commended the regional commander and his men for reducing crime and ensuring law and order.
For me, as a political head of this new region, I'm very, very impressed with the work of the police. Thank God you were part of the visit to the palace, where the overlord himself alluded to the fact that if it is about competence, if it is about due diligence, he has to clap his hands for the police. You were there yourself as media. And so this is a clear manifestation that in the Northeast region, nobody is ready to interfere in any crime-related issues. Everything has to be professional in character, and that is how it has always been. So, and that's the more reason why, for me, as we say today, the issue of crime has really been reduced to the barest minimum.
Elias Utanko reporting for Joy News.
The concerned citizens of Ochiman has given former President John Mahama a 3-day ultimatum to render an apology for his apparent endorsement of what it says are comments derogatory of Achims. The group, made up of natives of Achim, Kotoku, Bosome, and Abuaka, demonstrated on the principal street of Asamankesi against what it describes as tribal bigotry exhibited by ex-president Maxwell Kudeko. Joined the protesters and has come through with this report.
A peaceful demonstration against the NDC presidential candidate, Mr. John Dramani Mahama, over his supposed ethnocentric comment describing Achims as SAKAWA boys, nearly turned bloody when some chiefs clashed with the police over the firing of musketry. Leader of the war wing of Achim and chief of Apapem, Osaberima Okojiman Apeja Ofori's gun was seized by the police when they got to the convergence point. Police eventually allowed the demonstration to go ahead with a promise to hold the leaders responsible for any mishap. The concerned citizens of Ochiman say former President John Dramani Mahama has 3 days to render an apology for sharing a social media post describing President Akufo-Addo and others as Achim SAKAWA boys or face their wrath. The concerned citizens made up of Achim Kotoku, Bosome and Ebuakwa demonstrated on the principal street of Asamankese against what they called tribal bigotry exhibited by ex-President John Mahama. Osabayoma Okojiman Apeja Ofori, leader of the war wing of Ochiman, who led the demonstration, poured libation to that effect. Convener of the concerned citizens of Ochiman, Achibot Intri Akwa, also hinted the NDC and 8 flag bearers are bent on ridiculing the people of Achim.
The statement describing Achims as SAKAWA boys has now become a tag to ridicule Achims as criminals, fraudsters, and untrustworthy. The concerned citizens of Achimabwapa, Bosome, Kotoku, organized this protest upon the request of thousands of our people who have sent in appeals reminding us of our duty to respond to the dust and garbage thrown on the face of Ochiman by Mr. Mahama. Mr. Mahama, who as president described Chebi as the headquarters of Galamsey, instating his position on the Japan royalties, threw caution to the wind and repeated the ethnocentric description of Achims as SAKAWA boys. SAKAWA is using local parlance to describe blood rituals, occultism, cyber fraud, greed, and violence. Ladies and gentlemen, the issue of concern is not the original statement purportedly made by Mr. Isaac Adongo. It is rather about the NDC's campaign style of inciting tribal hatred. We had the NDC, flag bearer, and other leading members whipping a hate campaign during the voter registration exercise to incite the people of the voter region with lies that Nana Akufo-Addo and Achim Roya was deliberately using soldiers and other discriminating measures to suppress the registration of people from the voter region.
A member of the concerned citizens of Ochiman, Nanayao Asem, advised John Mahama to listen to wise counsel or have himself to be blamed.
This time we are not going to encourage he continue with his insult and attacks on the good people of AKYEM. We are demonstrating today, calling on him and the NDC to come out within 72 hours to retract the comment and apologize to the 3 AKYEM states, to apologize to AKYEM Bosome, to apologize to AKYEM Kotoku, and to also apologize to AKYEM Abuakwa. Today we are going to send a petition to the various kings of the 3 paramountcy to, as a matter of urgency, ban them from entering any of our palaces if they refuse to apologize and retract.
I still to come in this bulletin, President Akufo-Addo response to NDC flag bearer John Mahama's reference to his advanced age is also challenging claims by former President John Mahama that the administration has nothing to show for the excessive borrowing it has engaged in since it assumed power. We'll be back with more on Joy News Prime.
Hello once again. Let's take a look at the business news for tonight. A marginal drop in food prices in the month of August has pushed inflation downward to 10.5%. The decline was 0.4% from the previous month's figure of 11.4%. There is more in this report.
According to figures by the Ghana Statistical Service, year-on-year food inflation went down by 2.4% to 11.4%. Month-on-month food inflation also fell by 1.1%. On the other hand, non-food inflation went up by 0.2% to 9.9%. Inflation for locally produced items was 12.6%, while inflation for imported items was 4.8%. Vegetables, seafood and tea registered inflation rate higher than the food inflation average. Government statistician Professor Inim told journalists that the slowdown in rate of food prices for the past few months can be attributed to the fall in general price levels.
Food deflation was 1.1%, and that was what essentially drove the month-on-month overall inflation of minus 0.4%. So the overall month-on-month deflation of 0.4% was driven by the food deflation of 1.1%. So indeed, the deflation that we're talking about and the overall reduction in inflation rate on a year-on-year basis was driven by, or the contribution of food inflation for that matter was significant. Yes.
In the regional breakdown, Greater Accra recorded the highest inflation rate of 13.5%, while Volta region registered the lowest inflation rate of 4.7%.
We focus on the region with the highest inflation figure, which is the Greater Accra region, and try to look at the dominant factors that are driving inflation in the Greater Accra region. We do this from a year-on-year basis for overall inflation and do the same for year-on-year inflation strictly from the perspective of food inflation. And we observe that housing, water, electricity and gas drive the year-on-year inflation within Greater Accra, followed by transport, recreation and sports. And from a food perspective, for Greater Accra region, we see tea, fish and other seafood and vegetables being the 3 dominant factors that are driving food inflation in Greater Accra region.
Food inflation was lowest in the northern region with 3.4%, whereas the Volta region registered the lowest non-food inflation of 4.3%.
It must certainly feel good to buy food for less. Now, the Vehicle and Assets Dealers Union of Ghana is calling on the former president and flag bearer of the NDC, John Mahama, to sign a memorandum of understanding with automobile dealers as a way of showing commitment to his campaign promise. According to the executive secretary of the union, Francis Opoku, just announcing the intent to scrap the law banning the importation of salvage vehicles is not enough to convince them and to influence their vote.
The Customs Amendment Law will take effect from October this year as a result of government's decision to create an automobile assembling industry in the country. After a series of engagement with government, the automobile dealers have expressed disappointment that the law has not been revised. Former President John Mahama disclosed that he will review the law to scrap the imposition of 35% duty on imported vehicles. General Secretary of the Automobile Dealers Union of Ghana, Clifford Ansu, said the dealers are confident that the move will boost their operations.
He became excited. Since last night, my phone has never rested. A lot of calls are coming in all over. So, General, how is everything? Is it going to be positive or negative? Then I told them that, in fact, we've been calling for the total scrapping of the area that we have identified as a threat to our operations. But it appears nothing has been done. Government only keep on giving us promises. Promises upon promises, which is not going to materialize today or tomorrow. So if somebody is saying that when you give me the opportunity, even though it's a manifesto promise, if you give me the opportunity, I'll do whatever that you want, that's a good news for us.
So is it something that you trust will happen?
Yes. You see, the thing is that we are getting to the election period. And all the political parties are making their promises. And when somebody says something and they say you don't trust or you don't believe it, when free SHS, issue came about before the 2016 election, people were agitating. But when President Akufo-Addo came in, it has come to stay. So when former President Mahama also says that when I come, I'll do this and that for you people, we believe that when he also comes, he can do it.
Mahining Tiamoa is a second-hand automobile dealer and a member of the union.
We can't vote for MPP for him to just take our business away. So we will go for a JM. Only if he will do. If MPP will not withdraw, then we will go for NDC.
So it means you go for your interest.
Yes. Just I want a government that will maintain my business. That's all.
The union has, however, warned the announcement should not be a mere manifesto promise.
Interesting times ahead, obviously. Now, the Bagwe Dam spillage is affecting economic activities at Baswa in the northern region. Here is our quick take on the impact so far. It's a devastating moment for everybody up north, and we wish them all the best in this. That's it for business this hour. I'll be back after 8 with more.
Staying with us, it's now time to bring you sports. My name is Hans Mensah, and the former Minister of Youth and Sports, Nielante van der Poel, has explained why his party, the National Democratic Congress, has offered numerous promises to the sports sector in their manifesto. He says sports has become a lucrative business and they intend to take advantage of the numbers to boost the Ghanaian economy.
The NDC, during the launch of their manifesto for the 2020 general elections, announced a plethora of promises they intend to fulfill if they are given the mandate to govern the country for the next 4 years. Many have questioned how the party intends to honor these promises, but Nielante van der Poel, who was the sports minister under the NDC in 2016, spoke to Joy Sports about what the party considered before drawing the manifesto.
The fact that sports at this particular time in the world has become a very huge industry, and as such, if our manifesto is hinged on creating jobs, prosperity, and also inclusiveness, then it's important that we look at a sports policy and sports programs that will open opportunities for people to be employed, that will create jobs, that will also prosper people and let those who are involved in sports benefit from the sports, and also try and see that all people who are supposed to be in sports and who are in sports are given opportunity to benefit from the infrastructure and the development of the sports we have. And that not that we have sports exclusively for some people and then get some people off.
A notable policy in the manifesto was the development of a sports fund. Neil van der Poel explained how the policy will be implemented.
Well, the sports fund is very feasible. It's been in almost our manifesto since 2012. But you know, over the period, lack of resources, let me say the mainstream resource opportunity for the ministry has been the budget. And because we have been so national budget dependent, it was always difficult for us to be able to embark upon certain things that we envisage under the sports fund. But this time, with a big push, a lot of resources will be available for us to be able to support the institutionalization of the sports fund and so be able to cater for it. The sports fund is principally aimed at providing resources and making funds available for all the sporting associations apart from football to be able to embark upon their programs and activities for a year, and also make resources available for the payment of allowances and support and welfare packages for sportsmen and women, and also those people who are involved in the development.
The NDC has plans of completing the new Edubiasi Stadium and also lead a successful organization of the 2023 All-African Games.
500 female footballers in Ghana's elite league have received their monthly stipend of 500 Ghana cedis from the Youth Employment Agency. This is the first of the monthly stipends they are expected to receive over a 6-month period as a form of mitigation against the outbreak of the coronavirus pandemic.
DFA in July reached a consensus to enroll 500 players in the Women's Premier League on the Youth in Elite Sports Program under the Sports Model Initiative. The allowance forms part of government's COVID-19 alleviation program for 1,000 Ghanaian athletes through the Youth Employment Agency. It would be recalled that the National Sports Authority and the Youth Employment Agency on Friday, June 27, signed a memorandum of understanding to kickstart the program. Each player has received 500 Ghana cedis as agreed between the Ghana Football Association and the Youth Employment Agency. The agreement between the two parties is expected to run for an initial period of 6 months, which is subject to renewal. The monthly stipend paid to the players is to alleviate the financial distress caused by the COVID-19 pandemic.
Right, that's it for sports. There is more on myjoyonline.com/sport. My name is Hans Mensando.
It's time now for showbiz. Becky is here with the very latest. Hi, Becky.
Hello to you, Aisha.
So, where were you yesterday? You left me all by myself.
Yeah, what actually happened yesterday was that Raskuku lost his award that he's been taking around.
So you went looking for it?
Yeah, so I had to help the brother because that award, we had to wait for like 21 years to
when
get.
he's bathing, he takes the award. Then he take a picture. I'm bathing,
I mean,
then
Aisha,
he's going to.
Aisha, if you've worked over the years and you finally get recognized, you understand exactly how Raskuku is feeling. That award got missing, but thankfully,
an Okada man
found it and brought it to Hit FM. So for the poor fans, everybody out there thinking that we found it, we found the award, we found it. So big ups to you, Raskuku. Big ups to the poor nation.
The poor nation.
Yeah. Aisha, why are you laughing?
You did a good job.
Yeah, I have. See, this is what we do. We support each other. You know, I'm always there for them. But let's talk about one of our own here. You know, he's a sound guy here, Mr. QUAVER.
Okay.
Does that ring a bell? So, a sound man turned musician.
Okay.
I'm talking about Mr. QUAVER, who shocked everyone here at Multimedia and came up with a single. And he actually is working on an EP.
It's all about the QUAVER.
I'm telling you, baby.
Mr. QUAVER,
Mr. QUAVER, we're giving you fans up in here, honey. Grammys.
But we will not be carrying our awards around.
I shall go and tell Raskuku what you're doing. But let's congratulate rapper Edem. Yes, Edem has been installed as the, let me mention the
development
Nyali na in Funsi Bawa Tamale. Nyali. Oh, let's take a look. So that was Edem.
Congratulations, Edem.
Yeah, so people are asking why he had to, be, but it doesn't really matter.
It doesn't matter.
It means that actually what it means is that the person closest to the chief. They have to,
but also the fact that he's been crowned over there. He's from the Volta, but crowned in northern region.
Yeah, it's a big deal.
He relates to everybody, and that's a good thing.
Yeah, Aisha. Let's talk about the creative arts industry regarding the NDC. Remember the manifesto?
Yes.
So I spoke to Rex Omar, and he's been telling us about exactly what we should expect when it comes to protecting creatives in Ghana. He says that they will be building a copyright or setting up a copyright court to protect the creatives of our entertainers.
And the patents, right?
It was started by NDC. The LI was issued. So everything that has to do with even COSGA that became GAMRO all started by NDC. So this Creative Arts Council that we are waiting for the bill. It was started by NDC. The draft was started by NDC. Even though MPP has been in power for 4 years, the bill is still not passed. So when we come to power, all the things that we started will continue. The copyright industry is very, very important because most things that has to do with creativity has to do with copyright.
So that was Rex Omar. That's a developing story about Shatta Wale and EXIMBANK. We'll bring you that story, subsequently.
Yeah, it's actually about some money up there, but I think we'll get the details tomorrow. Thank you for bringing us Showbiz, Becky, and that'll be it for Showbiz. Member of Parliament's Public Accounts Committee, Ras Mubarak, is alleging state-owned EXIMBANK has paid musician Shatta Wale 2 million Ghana cedis to work as a brand ambassador, an amount he says the artist does not deserve. At Wednesday's sitting of the committee, Mr. Mubarak claimed a check has been issued to the musician to that effect. But Deputy CEO of the bank, Kwame Dakwa, says he is unaware of such a payment, explaining the bank has only engaged a communications consultancy firm to brand it, and it is the firm that is dealing with brand ambassadors.
I have not seen or signed a check for that amount.
Are you a constant signatory to any fund that leaves the bank?
My head of finance here is here. He will process the check, and if it's all right, I'll defer him to that question in terms of the processing of such a check.
What I mean is that can a check be signed without your signature and the money taken from them?
Well, I'm one of the signatories, and there are several signatories within the bank. And
so it's possible that you have not signed a check, but other signatories have signed and the money is taken from the bank?
But I'm the Deputy CEO of Finance, and I would see...
you see it in the statement?
Yes.
So we'll work on that, and then we'll call you again to appear.
Thank you.
We will have the details.
The Export and Import Bank is a non-commercial entity set up in 2016 by government to provide loans to business people to support an export-led economy. The Deputy CEO insists engaging brand ambassadors plays a key role in helping its image.
EXIMBANK, what we have done to promote our own made in Ghana products,
which is brilliant. And in promoting made in Ghana, you have very good artists, Nanan Pedu, Kojo Entry, Nakorex, you name them. In this instance, you gave money to Shatta Wale.
Honorable Chairman, no, not at all. As far as I'm concerned, it is a media campaign that we're running with a consultant. Thank you.
But Ras Mubarak, who is MP for Kumbungu, believes the money could have been invested in provision of water and other basic amenities for rural communities. He tells Joy News, compared to other more matured artists, Shatta Wale does not deserve the 2 million that is given to him. He says he has a copy of the check issued by EXIMBANK to Shatta Wale, which he tells which will tender in evidence when EXIMBANK officials appear before the committee again.
So these are public funds, and in spending public funds, there has to be accountability to the good people of Ghana through their representatives in Parliament. And it is fair that we get to know the basis, the criteria. If Ghana EXIM has outsourced some work to somebody, it is important that we have full disclosure of who got what. You know, and
you mentioned 2 million cedis.
I mentioned 2 million cedis that went to Shatta and indeed, as you may have heard from the deputy CEO, they according to them, they wouldn't know who the vendor selected. That they don't have the criteria, and this is not to say that we have a problem with Shatta. This is not to say that we have a problem with Shatta getting some amount of money to do whatever work EXIM gives them, but the Ghanaian public deserve to know how much went out, who got it, and
did you get those responses from this sitting?
The answers were not satisfactory, and it gladdens my heart that the chairperson of the committee has given indication that we may have to invite Ghana EXIM, back to the PAC where we put together all the documents that we are gleaning on.
So you have some, apart from the Shatta one, you have a sense that others have gotten money in the creative industry. There have been stories about Ejako and others.
I don't know about Ejako, but in respect of Shatta, that is what my briefing tells me. Okay, and as I've indicated, I mean, brilliant artist, fantastic. I know him personally, nothing against him. Okay, but this is public funds. If you're giving 2 million cedis to an artist, what is the basis for selecting that particular artist? And if it were your money, would you actually be spending 2 million Ghana cedis? That's quite a lot of money.
Do you get that sense that it's not exactly judicious use of the sums in terms of handing them over to artists like that, and that if these people were managing their own funds, as far as the managers of EXIM are concerned, they will probably not have given all this much to artists like Shatta?
As somebody who's had, interactions with a lot of artists, obviously artists have to be paid for, their intellectual property, their creativity, but you ask yourself whether 2 million Ghana cedis is a judicious use of public funds.
The politics of borrowing will not go away anytime soon, and tonight President Akufo-Addo is describing as moot claims by his main opponent in the December elections, former President John Mahama, that he has borrowed so much but very little to show for it. The NDC flag bearer was speaking at the launch of the party's manifesto on Monday, but addressing the subject during a radio interview on Techiman-based Link FM as part of his tour of the Bono East region, President Akufo-Addo said the evidence of government borrowing is available for everyone to see, describing calls for comparison as misleading.
It's all across Ghana. Kind of one difference between the government that performs and the papa so a car and the same emphasis and one will be jay. Yeah, everyone say opinion said that sorry so be pray
and this time Ramani Huma Grana. The first time I said Ubiako Osaba.
Osaba. Yes, as we pakona Osaba will be papa business so and every single indices of your government was negative. The slowest rate of growth in our history, unrestrained, indebtedness, indiscipline in the management of the public finances. Every area of national governance, you were in the negative. And I'm not looking at us again for a refree. I'm saying no teacher no jinaswa or person or the any campaign say just they see one in the breast and refee. And cancer man, the baby be say now it's a freshman being one, but
then there's more position qua more different or baba so different. But I know people say I do be and say magic ben our promises need be also so do but what made liver, especially
organization. And first of all the commitment, because no one dream hold it down.
Okay.
He also responded to comments by the former president referring to his advanced age.
the age no wa unu na ya keka ho asemo so unfi no so kra na say unfi no ba bia wa wa mre aduma no kra wontumi nye sika no kra wo ginye na obetua
wa me pesa me ka ho asemo. That's right. Inquire and now who they sani na if you know how never if you know never Jacob na yes wow who na for when you search so when you call it's the time will be back out there any part the sentence Jacob na sentence it's me the honor me that's right so opposite one
Transport Minister QUAVER has revealed commercial motorbike operations could soon be legalized should ongoing stakeholder consultations approve such a move. NDC flag bearer John Mahama has promised the business, which is currently outlawed, even though not strictly enforced, will be legalized. Speaking to journalists after appearing before Parliament's Accounts Committee sitting at which the Okada issue was raised, Mr. Isiama said the ongoing consultation is what will determine whether the law should be changed. He insists the move has nothing to do with the promise by the NDC.
The government make its position clear on it. The government, we are now doing stakeholder consultation on the matter, and whatever position will come out clear, we will make it public to the people of this Ghana to know. But as of today, the position of Okada is in what is stated in 21.8.
One of the possible outcomes could be that after the consultation, if the people push for it, this government will buy into the idea.
Possibilities are not what the law says. The possibility is what the people say. So
are you going to review the law?
I am saying that we are doing stakeholder consultation on the matter, and when we are done, we will make it public for you. How long
should we expect this stakeholder consultation to take?
You see, in coming up with the law, it's not about speed, it's about accuracy.
Okay. Could one of those possible outcomes be the position that John Mahama has taken at the moment, that he wants to see it legalized?
You see, you are asking me the position. I'm not being hoovering about what President Mahama promises on his campaign does. What I'm saying that the state of Okada and what this present government is doing about Okada. That is the position that I'm stating.
Is that promise what is igniting this stakeholder consultation on whether
we started this thing in late 2019 when President John Dramani Mahama has not made any promise to the people of this.
So is it possible he stole your idea? Is it possible he probably picked on your idea?
I don't know. I will not be able to.
The law is likely to be amended. Your government is so quiet because you don't have an effect on the election. Anyway,
let me tell you, the difference between people going on campaign promise and promising, the people you govern the nation, and we are the party in power. We are governing the nation. So our activities is different from what somebody is promising on his campaign train. So that is. So
are you frightened? Are you frightened by what the ex-president has said? As well, going to have an effect on your on election?
Let me tell you, we are not frightened by anything. We are supposed to govern this country to the best of our ability. What will be in the interest of this country? Let us not compare some of these issues and say that somebody has made a campaign promise, so we'll come and respond to it or react to it. That's what I said that in 2012, when the law was passed to ban the use of, it was not banned, to make it that it was not lawful, it was not legal to be used. President John Dramani Mahama was the president.
Responding to questions at the park sitting, the Transport Minister also assured the people of the Volta region the Kita Port project is on course, although no structures are on the ground yet. More stories, the people voted for you to empower them, not to intimidate them. Those are the words of the running mate of the NDC flag bearer, Professor Nana Jane Opoku-Agyeman, to government. Professor Opoku-Agyeman also questioned if the country is practicing democracy, judging from what she says is becoming the frequent attacks on free speech. She argues that stifling free speech could be a recipe for disaster, since the electorate could be forced to express themselves through violent means. She made these comments during a working visit to the Media Foundation for West Africa Wednesday.
Because it's something we should have taken for granted by now. So again, I asked myself, so what is it that is impeding this? Are we really practicing democracy, or is it something else? You know, so sometimes we need to go back to the drawing board and ask ourselves some questions, because we need to build strong institutions, independent institutions. They will not be built with fear and harassment and all kinds of impediments that are not helpful. You see, freedom of expression is so important. And it's important because what are you expressing? So it starts in the mind. And if you stifle the expression, it stays in the mind. And thoughts, they will come out in other ways. Okay, and they will come out mostly in ways that are not comprehensible because they have not come out through dialogue. And that is why it's so dangerous to silence people. And I think that we all need to understand, by intimidating and so on, you are rather creating a very, very unsafe society. The person invests his power in you by voting. That is all. Then what do? You return that power by addressing the person's needs. You don't return that power by being arrogant. You don't return that power by believing you are better than other people. Because those people put you there. And you should never forget that in any moment in your life, or that they have invested their power in you and they expect better returns. They don't expect that you stifle their speech because they voted for you. They don't expect that you take decisions without their inputs. And they don't expect that you'll be violent or you'll intimidate them. I don't think that is what the users of power should be, especially when that power has been invested in you.
Professor Nano Pukwajiman there. A few weeks ago, Mame Fua was at her wit's end, not knowing what life held for her. Having lost her job as a laborer at a construction site as a result of the COVID-19 restrictions, and with no one to turn to, she and her 2 sons were forced to sleep on an empty stomach until her plight was brought to light by Joy News, and then some benefactors came to her rescue. Her story has since changed, and she wants to say thank you. Joy News' Annabella Ohenijan has more in the following report.
A beautiful, wide, sunny smile. Mami Efua can now afford to smile because life finally grinned at her. She's currently busy bidding flip-flops for sale.
By the grace of God, I have received help. I did not expect this kind of love from Ghanaians.
Some weeks back, she drowned herself in sorrow and tears because she could not afford to take care of her 2 children as a widow. COVID-19 restrictions also collapsed her day job at a construction site, further deepening her woes. Poverty made it difficult for them to afford 3 meals and unable to rent. They sleep in an uncompleted building. Today, change has come. Her story, told on Joy News, touched many who extended a helping hand.
Sometimes,
by the grace of God, I have received help. I did not expect this kind of love from Ghanaians. I am human. Sometimes you will need someone to talk to or comfort you. And through Joy News, I have come to know that I also have loved ones. Sometimes, some go further to check on me and my kids.
Mami Efua has started a flip-flop business from over 25,000 Ghana cedis received from donors.
Ghana for Mboya Omodobuam will be taking story B.
Now I have begun a trade in beading, and it's from the donations I received. When I finally leave this uncompleted building, I will venture into pastry making.
Meat pie. Na me bon person ye we pay na me ya me bie kwana na me fi ha me ya no so me da ka.
Theophilus Akuto is Mami Efua's first son, a final year junior high school student readying himself for this year's BCE. Due to the family's poverty situation, Theophilus slept hungry and struggled to excel despite the family's condition. He kept his legs in a bucket of water to stay awake and also distract himself from hunger. But today, Theophilus does not have to do all that.
I can see that everything is going on well for us and I get more food to eat. That's why. So I don't put my leg in water again. but just at the drink of water. I want to.
So how does it feel now?
It feels good.
Thanks to all kind-hearted individuals that put a smile on her face. Annabelle Ohini-Jans reports for Joy News.
Take a break on Joy News Prime. We'll be back shortly.
And I'm back with business and more of that. A new system of registering businesses is likely to be in place by September 28th this year. Now, the new system forms part of reforms being introduced by the Registrar General's Department under the New Companies Act, which gives new processes and procedures for registering a company. The new system is expected to promote the government's efforts to improve the ease of doing business. Earlier, my colleague Israel Lai spoke with the Registrar General Jemima Owari.
We are doing this so that once you complete the prescribed forms, you just download those constitutions, and then once you pay whatever you need to pay once only, you get your certificate of incorporation. And so we are doing away with the certificate to commence business. That is a major change. And names of companies are now going to have suffixes at the end of the names for clear identification. So if you're a private company and the private company limited by shares, the name of your company is going to end with LTD or Company Limited. If it's a public company, it's going to be either PLC or Public Limited Company. If it's a company limited by guarantee, you have to end it with LBG, that is Limited by Guarantee. The whole idea is we want to be able to identify specifically which kinds of companies we are dealing with at a go. You don't need to go and swear before a commission of oath anymore. Once you swear on your own regard that you are giving us the right information, we will register the business, and you can have you can just get your certificate of incorporation, your documents from our system, and that is it.
All right.
So that we really need to let the public know from 28th, please go to our website and download the new prescribed forms that we have over there. Because if you come with the old forms, the system will not accept it. So, I mean, I've gone into more detail in the press releases that we've put out.
All right.
So we are here to respond to any questions that anybody might want to ask. Yes.
How significantly do you expect this to contribute to the ease of doing business?
Well, if you were able to complete these forms within the shortest possible time, you wouldn't need to come back to us and come and pay for the certificate to commence business. You do everything once, we give you a certificate, you start your life, you go on with it. I mean, in the past, you'd have to go and come back and come and pay for the second level. The most exciting thing is, I mean, I know people will love that one. You don't need to prescribe your objects unless you're a company regulated by a different entity. Now, every company that is regulated by another entity apart from Registrar General's Department would have to have a constitution and would have to prescribe objects. But from my system, you need to also disclose which sector you are operating in, so that for ease of doing business, if anybody wants to find information about this company, they will be able to find out the sectors they are operating from. But in the past, people could write as many pages for objects as maybe 2 or 3 or 4. That has, that is what we've stopped now. You just disclose the sector you're working in, and then we will register you. But if you are regulated by a different institution, you will need to disclose which objects that you have.
All right.
Basically, these are a few changes. But there's one thing that I also have to let you know. The requirements for corporate governance has been strengthened. You cannot just appoint anybody to be a company secretary anymore. In the past, people could just, on the flair of a moment, decide who should be their secretary. Now you will need to make sure that the secretary complies with the requirements in the Act.
Over there. Well, that's it for business. For me, I'm Gifty Andopia. Aisha Ibrahim is still here to continue. Just stay tuned.
wrap up the bulletin tonight. My name is Aisha Ibrahim. On behalf of the rest of the team, enjoy the rest of your evening. But PM Express is coming up next with the manifesto tracker. On Wednesdays, we break it down for you. Exactly what we're going to be doing with the NDC 2020 manifesto. Do stay tuned in.